Hi everyone, it's Judy, and I'm here with you now for a sequel to my fall album tutorial. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link right here, but it goes through how to make all these pages and the inserts for them, and there's lots of little ones here, and short ones, and interactive ones like this one here. So, be sure to watch that video. This one will make a lot more sense if you watch that one. So I'm going to address a few things that I had comments about and just some things that I didn't go through in my other video. So the first thing, this album is bound with my Bind It All, and I covered the O-wire with cardstock. And I'll show you that when you bind with your Bind It All, they tell you to align all your pages correctly and then take your back cover and flip it over to your front, and then thread your wire through and bind it. But I don't particularly like that, because then the seam is right here between your back page and your back cover, and then you can't easily lift up your back cover to close the album. So what I like to do is just have your pages all assembled like they're supposed to, and then thread your wire through and then bind it. So your seam is on the outside. Now you have to cover it then, so I covered it with cardstock. And for mine, I used a 7-inch piece by 6.5. And I like to leave at least 3/4 of an inch to glue onto my cardstock, or onto my cover, and then at least 1/4 of an inch here away from the binding wire and from the holes. Because if you have the cardstock too close, it's going to get caught there, and it's just not going to be very easily, it's not going to be very easy to turn your pages. So 3/4 of an inch to glue, 1/4 of an inch gap here, so you need at least of an inch right there. And then another inch on your back cover. And, let's see, for this nice little shape here, it kind of bubbles off the wire there. What I did is I scored in 2.5 inches from both sides, which gave me that 2.5, or that 2-inch piece there. And I determined that my wire is 1 inch, so I wanted to double this part that's going to be covering the wire. That way it gave it a different shape and not just a rounded shape that's just kind of really flat and boring. So just double this piece here from your wire. So 1 inch is 2 inches. And I did the score marks, so when I'm gluing, I can line up the score marks with the edge of my chipboard cover, and it will be lined up perfectly. So there's the perfect 2 inches right here that's sticking off and coming around my O-wire. So essentially, that's how you do it. It's really easy. And another thing, these pages and the holes are punched just pretty close to the edge of the paper. And what I did for that is this right here is a space bar. And you can buy this as an accessory to your Bind It All, and it, you just slide it in there in your little groove there, and it allows for your holes to be closer to the edge of your paper, which allows for more pages. Now, in the original tutorial, I used envelopes and then did 1/2-inch binding pieces. If you're binding without the space bar, it will still fit within that 1/2-inch guide there. So, there's that. Now, also with this album, I was working with 6x6 pieces of pattern paper, so the envelopes were essential for me. But if I was working with a 12x12, I would do it just a little bit differently. So, for this page here that's shorter than all the rest, I would basically do it the same way I showed in the tutorial, but for all the other pages I would do it differently. So I'll show you how I would do that. So I would take a 12 by 12 piece and cut it to the length I want. For this piece it's 7.5 inches. And then I would take it and just fold it in half. You can score it, but I'm just doing it for the purpose of the video. And then I would take a 1.5 inch piece and fold it in half. And let's see. And then I would just glue it, which I'm just going to do this really quick. And also angle in your edges like this. So cutting from the folded edge and cutting in at an angle. And then I would just line it up and along the edge of my paper and stick it down. And then I would have a, well, it's essentially a tube, but if you bind it with your bind it all on this edge, it will be closed, or you can glue it, whichever is fine. But you can follow the same measurements or the same tutorial and make an album like this with 12 by 12 paper with a lot less work. So this page would, the longest page would be 8 inches long by 6, and then this one I told you what to do there, and this one would be 3.5 inches. This one would be 6.5 because you have all the binding and you would just want to bind it on your pattern paper. You wouldn't have to add that 1/2 inch of cardstock there. So that makes it a lot easier if you're working with 12 by 12. And if you're not, you know, this is always a really nice way to go because you can use those 6 by 6 papers. So I hope that helps some of you and answers some of your questions, and thanks to everyone for watching.